All right, welcome to the Core podcast. This week we have a special guest. He goes by Cane Blue River.
Yes.
His name is Nicholas Gonzalez. Hey, how are you doing?
What's up, guys? Thank you for having me here. I'm doing great. I'm super happy to be able to hang out with both of you. I've known both of you for a long time. I really respect the work you do. So I'm really happy to have this opportunity to just hang out with you, share my thoughts in a more like extended and in a way that can be recorded for for posterity.
Yeah, awesome. So thanks for being on the show. And I guess just for the new generation that might not know, could you introduce yourself maybe briefly to that new crowd?
Yes, of course. My name is Nicolas Gonzalez. I am from Chile, South America. I'm 38 years old. People know me mostly in the FGC by the name Cane Blue River. And I'm mostly known by my achievements in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Biggest of them is first place at Evo 2015, but I also got second place on 2016, third place in 2023. Won multiple majors, multiple top threes, top eights. Also won a bunch of high profile matches. Also had some fairly decent achievements in King of Fighters, particularly during the KOF 13 and 14 days. Yeah, that's pretty much. I've also done decently in other games, like I have a few medals for Super Turbo. Um, did decently in some Dragon Ball tournament and Dragon Ball Fighter tournaments. Some other stuff here and there. Started playing, yeah.
Fighting game specialist, it seems. I mean, if you look at your Wikipedia page, it's like games all over the place. I think I even saw like Tekken that you did pretty well in a tournament. I believe Tekken 7 in the early days. But I guess something we're curious about. You go by Cane Blue River. We were wondering how you came up with that name. The way I think of it, you mentioned KOF, right? You're big into KOF, and I was thinking like Billy Kane and like maybe Blue Mary or something. Maybe had to do with that name, but maybe we're completely wrong. What is the actual origin behind Cane Blue River?
So it's actually completely unrelated to fighting games. It's actually the name of the main character of a somewhat obscure 90s anime. Um, it just ended up being my gamer tag for like random reasons. Like it was an inside joke I had with the group of people I used to play with at that time. I was like 15 years old or so.
Okay.
Like right shortly after getting into internet and stuff. And it was like very like inside jokes, something like it's like I won't be able to explain really, but it just stuck. It sounded cool, so I just decided to stick with it.
Yeah, so you've been it kind of shows that you're kind of an OG. Obviously, you've been playing for a long time, and
Yes.
it's one of the questions we want to ask. Every one of our guests is basically how did you get into fighting games, and then how did you get into FGC? Those are kind of distinct, right? I've been in fighting games I loved fighting games for a long time before I kind of got into the FGC and learned about like the bigger community. So, what was your kind of like fighting game introduction, and then like when was it that you realized, oh wow, there's like a bigger ecosystem for this kind of thing?
So in my case, it's actually funny because they go a little bit kind of hand by hand. So in my case, I actually didn't get into fighting games until I was somewhat older. I played like some stuff around here and there, but even though I was born and I grew in the like during the heyday of the arcade days. I wasn't much of an arcade regular, even though I had like there were plenty of arcades even in smaller towns where like the one where I lived. back in the day. Um, I grew up mostly with my mom, and she was like fairly like overprotective of me.
Mhm.
And I was fortunate enough that I was able to have access to consoles at an early age. So arcades were seen as this like the place of like this den of evil
The same
and like
everywhere.
Yeah.
the dark place. So
Yeah.
mom was like, "Mm, why would you want to go there? Like just stick around. Like you can play at home. Like there's this,
Yeah.
you have your Nintendos and stuff. Like so." I didn't really play too many fighting games. I just play a few ones here and there. Mostly the some in Super Nintendo. Like I played Street Fighter 2 on Super Nintendo. Like most of my Street Fighter 2 experience back in the day was in Super Nintendo, not on arcades. I played some random fighting games on like SNES and PS1 mostly, but just for fun. Like for example, I love playing Street Fighter EX on
Nice.
PS1, but because of the challenge mode. That's actually the game that taught me about combos in fighting games, for example.
Very difficult. I remember.
But
I really
yeah,
enjoyed
so
that as well.
but I didn't like I didn't think fighting games like as a like player experience at that time. I just like that game because of it offered me a challenge that I could like measure myself up. Like okay, I feel I need to be able to complete this. Like in those days, I would play Marvel 1 on PS1, which is a very lacking port. And since I had no idea how Marvel games work or how fighting games work in general, I would still play like Marvel like any other fighting game. So I would just do like crouching Mew and kick into Fireball, and then I will see a CPU do all these combos. And I thought it was cheating, right? Because I had no idea about Marvel combos, right? At the time, I've always been enthralled. Like my passion is competitive gaming of any kind, and I've done many things on that side. I played chess in middle school for school.
Chess. Nice.
I played Quake 1 and 2 competitively here.
Nice.
While I was in high school, I played StarCraft Brood War with the intention of like getting better. Like
really?
You have a StarCraft background.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
yeah.
Nice.
yeah, that's it. That's super cool. Yeah.
So anything that could be played like that, it was appealing to me. Oh well, and the biggest one for me has been Magic the Gathering, which I've been into for as long or even longer than I have been into fighting games. But the thing is that with Magic is that over the past almost 10 years, the focus of the game as a market has shifted enormously from competitive to casual.
Yeah.
Some people develop a format just to be played casually, and that format is currently the biggest money maker for the game. So that's a big focus for the game, not the competitive. When I got into the game, the slogan they sold the game to people was "Play the game, see the world." So basically, if you were good enough, you could qualify, play the qualifying tournaments, earn tickets, and go to the professional circuit, make money, get into the pro players club. And if you were in the pro players club, the company will actually pay you appearance fees because you were kind of like a celebrity, a figure for the game, kind of like an ambassador for the game. So the highest ranked players could basically make a living through the game. But that's not even a reality anymore, because it's like competitive Magic is not as big,
not as appealing, I guess.
it's not appealing to current generation of entertainment.
I mean, we're in when I was growing up, I remember I actually was into Magic as well. I never got into like super competitive or anything like that, but I remember when I started with Magic, I think it was in 3rd edition, and it still had the dual lands where you can like tap a mana, like one of 2 lands. It was super broken, right? And
well, if you have those are pretty good. Those can be pretty good emergency funds.
Oh yeah,
those go for like, depending on the condition, but around like 400 to 900 a piece.
Really? Okay. Well, I have to dig up.
I
have to dig up my old Magic cards. I have like a Shiva Dragon and like, I played, and I played like a weird combination. I mean, I was a scrub, but I played like blue and red, and I feel like those are kind of the elements that go against each other. But I had good cards for those. I had a fork and stuff. And but I mean, what colors did you play, and what was kind of your strategy? What did you? Was there anything that you were interested in? I had a spell deck and everything. It was like really small, and like I remember
I'm a steady tryhard. I go for what works. I actually so I was very young when I got into Magic, and like the average age of the players when I got into it was definitely higher than mine. Like I was 12 when I got into the game, and most players were around like the 16 to 25 age, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So what actually happened is that since my best option to get closer to the players, to the high level players, like to get better was to get close to them to learn more about the game, right? But they won't it's like, what's this kid doing? Like whatever, right? So what I ended up doing is at that time becoming like Magic judges were kind of like a prestigious thing within the competitive game. So I ended up becoming the youngest judge in Magic history when I was 14.
Really?
Whoa.
Just to be able to watch the top players from closer, and without a way for them to just keep me around. Like I had to be there because I was judging the event, judging the match. So that gave me access to like the upper echelon of players.
Some insights in like strategies and maybe some of the secrets that the top players
and it's people that otherwise won't give me a time of the day at that age, right? So
I mean, there's definitely, I think even in the FGC, a big part of getting good is having a scene and even having access to practice partners that are also at a high level. But the problem is kind of like if you're not at a certain level, then it's going to be hard to have somebody high level as a practice partner. But if you don't have like high level players, then also it's hard to improve quickly, right? So it's kind of like I guess this is why you kind of hacked your way into the Magic scene by being a judge. I can see.
But that's a big achievement. Like it's already a prestigious place to be in, a role in that scene.
Yeah.
And the youngest as well. You must have got like some Guinness Book of World Record or something for that. Like,
well,
you deserve one if you didn't want. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Do judges get accolades for that kind of stuff?
I mean, it is a special prestige.
They have a category for everything, like in Guinness Book of World Records.
I also do have a funny story now that you mentioned Magic, as well as Street Fighter EX.
Oh, yeah.
I also have a kind of relatable story. It's a coincidence about Magic. So I did get into Magic also, like everybody else did back in the day. I wasn't super competitive. I was more of a collector. Yeah. And I collected enough that I filled my shoebox full of my own collection. And eventually, when I thought, I don't want to like collect anymore. It was, I mean, still to this day, it does cost money to get more, of your collections, right? So I eventually traded a shoebox full of my Magic cards with a PlayStation 1, a second-hand PlayStation 1. Yeah.
What?
And my first game that came with it was Street Fighter EX.
Oh my God. The story turns around. We go from Magic to how you got EX.
I'm the multiverse version of Nico.
Actually, I kind of want to delve into EX a little bit because Nico was talking about like the challenges that were they kind of like trials, or were they like
So it's a combo trial.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's before like anyone spoke about like one frame links or like some like negative edge techniques.
Yeah.
It was very difficult to that era, and I believe it's still difficult to this day if a new player played it.
Yeah, so this is one thing I noticed with like modern trials. Like I remember the Street Fighter 4 trials, and then compared to Street Fighter 5, like the 4 trials where they were just like, the people who created the trials were almost like trolling you. It's just like, are
like
you serious? You want like
Mm.
do you really like expect someone to do this? And then people do, and that is one way. It's interesting, Nico, that you mentioned that's kind of how you got into the first glimpse of the competitive side of fighting games. Is like it's a single player mode, right? So there's kind of this good like kind of a level gauging system, and I guess if you can't do a certain trial, you can't do it. You passed it or you didn't, and I guess like nowadays like the idea of combos and stuff like that it's still there. FGC's always trying to find the latest stuff, but I guess with like input buffers and kind of the way the modern games are being made now, I guess some of that is. This might be like a old man yelling at cloud, like the good old days kind of thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, Nico, how do you feel about like the trials then and the trials now? I know you're a King of Fighters 13 player. I know some of those combos are ridiculous, and I guess like with some of the newer games, I mean, I think it's not like it's all going in one direction. It's kind of going up and down with like the execution requirements. But I guess how do you feel about games these days and the execution requirements? And do you think it's maybe a good thing to open it up for new players, maybe not be so daunting, these games? Or do you feel that are we missing something from the past that would be welcome if it came back? Or do you think it needs to be kind of morphed in some way, the stuff that we did in the past?
Personally, I don't like gatekeeping in any way, but I would like to have like options for everyone. Like one of the things that, for example, I feel that one of the things I really like, for example, about Marvel 3 or or just like Guilty Gear, is that you have an option for everyone. If you want to play a certain play style, you have a character for you. If you want to, if you want something easy mode on your hands, there is a character or a team for you. If you want to like absolutely freestyle or just show how good you are with your hands, there is a team for you. There is a character for you. So I feel most games should follow that formula when possible. Of course, it doesn't mean all games have to do that. Like some games are simplified for a reason, and that's completely fine too. Like I'm not going to say, hey, BB Tag or hey, Granblue Fantasy versus to have overtly complicated combos, because it's not the nature of those games, and that's completely fine. It's like it's how they were designed with having their complexity in other situations. Like for example, the less you have to think about the combos, the more you can think about your neutral or your setups. So it's a different perspective. Like in BB Tag, I completely understand that it's like not necessarily to have high level combos, because the challenge is not in the execution. The challenge is somewhere else, and you might like it or not like it, and either is fine. But but for example, in other cases, like for example in more global games, I would like to have like wider options. Like for example, I feel Street Fighter has toned down the difficulty along the whole roster. Is basically different, like as a base philosophy.
Yeah.
And in that case, I would like, for example, Street Fighter, I would like to have at least an option to have like more difficult but more rewarding combos, like a character that rewards someone that has good execution. Maybe not as strong in other areas, but can reward like good execution. That's why that's the thing that I feel it's kind of problematic with some of the current games, is that in general I feel different games demand different skill sets from the players to be able to be good at the game, right? And most of the current games, they don't give you like different paths to victory. It's just like if you don't have this skill, like this particular skill, you cannot be good at the game. No matter what. Period.
I feel that.
Right? Yeah, this is interesting because I remember when I talked to you before. I think maybe it was in Canada Cup, but you were talking about how you feel that you were not really like a natural talent. That you're somebody that has to just really grind to get to the level that you want to, and that of course there's some players who just like pick up a game and without practicing like too much, they can get really far and do really well. And so you said that was kind of that's kind of your play style, is that you're the one who has to kind of study, research, practice a lot. Do you feel that do you feel that that's accurate or about your play style, or maybe you have updated thoughts on
absolutely.
that?
For the most part, in general, like particularly in Marvel, of course, but in general in fighting games, um, I'm not strong at playing the game itself. So I have to play. I feel my bigger strengths come from things that are outside the game. So if I want to be successful in general, I need a game that allows me to play the opponent in some way instead of playing the character.
Okay, yeah.
Right,
Outside, you said
like-
outside the game. That's very interesting because you're known for your like mental resilience. There's a psychology aspect that you seem very strong on. We'll get back to that a bit later. But yeah, what do you mean by like being stronger in aspects outside the game?
If there's an example.
For example, my reactions are really bad. My reactions are probably my weakest aspect as a player. But I don't need to react if I know exactly what my opponent is going to do. If I got a strong read on my opponent, then it doesn't matter that I can react because I'm just gonna be there before my opponent is. And in Marvel, the team I play in particular helps me a lot on that. But also you can see it when you see how how things go between me and different like archetypes of players, right? I feel when I played Marvel, for example, when I play Marvel in the States, especially against like players that are considered strong, at one point they're even like afraid of losing to me, mostly because of an
right.
ego thing.
That's
And that
understandable.
plays completely to my advantage.
Ooh.
Then we have, for example, when I play different fighting games against Japanese players. Japanese players are known for being very clean, methodical, they can be super cheap, but very clean,
Yeah,
right?
I feel that a lot of times.
So even though they might be more skilled than I am, I feel we're having a conversation through the game.
Yes.
Like I understand the reasoning of why they will do certain things, why they took the decisions they took.
Yeah.
On the other hand, on the complete opposite side of the spectrum, we have whenever I play against Latin American players, I cannot play against Latin American players because Latin American players historically they don't play based on knowledge.
Sure.
They play based on intuition. They're like in Latin America because there's until very recently in fighting games there's been a huge knowledge barrier in terms of accessibility to information, to like more in-depth stuff like game engine stuff like frame data, setups, that kind of stuff. There's no space to thrive if you're not a naturally talented player. So everyone that's strong in Latin America is because they have that natural talent for them, like until very recently. So that means they're good just because they're good. They just have what it takes naturally to be good. And that means they're not trying to have a conversation in the game. They're just doing what they feel is right.
Right.
So for me, it's super difficult because I cannot read a blank book.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know what they're gonna do. It's if it's their intuition, then maybe the coffee that they had before the match is gonna put one extra wake up DP in their gameplay or something. You don't know, right?
Why do you think the meme is about the Mexican and the Brazilian camp players and not about the Japanese camp players or the European camp players or whatever?
The unpredictability.
Yeah.
It's the lag, the internet connection from being so far away.
Yeah.
On top of that, it's the play style. On top of that, it's Ken's DP that can you can get away with like any DP light DP whenever he wants. It's that's
Famously,
a good point.
in like Street Fighter, there's always a term called the Mexican uppercut. It's not necessarily the bad thing, right? But I mean, it works, and it's a very easy button to work as an intuition instead of doing the full DP, right? It's just crouching heavy punch.
Do you know why they call it the Mexican uppercut?
Because I just thought it was just a lazier version or something, isn't it? Like that's how I understood it as. Yeah.
No, it's not even lazy. It's
Right.
because early on in the game, like imagine 1991 first caps for World Warrior and Champion Edition,
Yeah, back in the day. Mm.
Yeah.
and there's no information, right? And of course, the people that have the information are usually like white people that can buy magazines or the Asian nerds.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you have the Latinos who are like just pressing buttons.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they realize these guys are doing like this rising punch move that like stops me whenever I go to here. I don't know how to do that. But there's this other button that also seems to work fairly well.
Right.
Crouching
Crouching,
Fierce.
Yeah.
crouching heavy punch.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
so I'm gonna stick to that.
yeah. And it
And
works.
that's why it's
though.
a Mexican
Yeah.
uppercut.
It
And
works.
so this meme actually has a historical fact.
That's incredible. Yeah, I was always wondering about that because, like, I mean, there's like people talked about like people joked around about like the Mexican Zippo and stuff like that. You know, but that was so yeah, I guess. But it does have like a historical precedent. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that was
kind of,
a,
right? Yeah.
yeah, but that's really that's super interesting about the gameplay style. So I kind of want to go to your Evo 2015 win. Of course, this is an incredible story because you're a player coming all the way from Chile, going to the Lion's Den. It's
Yeah.
basically USA. It's America's anime, right? It's Marvel. Marvel is an American.
So proud
game,
of their
right,
Marvel
and they're
game.
super proud. I'm sure there's nobody that knows that more than KBR.
Yeah.
How proud the Americans are of their Marvel, right? And you're also going in there with this, with this character picks that's a bit unorthodox, and so I guess when you were going to the U.S., I mean, what did you expect when you were? You must have been prepared in a lot of ways, but you must also be expecting like an American play style that's completely different. But I guess what it turned out was, I mentioned that to Kevin that you're kind of almost like a predator. As a person just going to the U.S. because you have this kind of play style and technology that maybe the American scene has not been used to or never saw before. So how did you feel about when you went to the U.S. and do you feel like that kind of gave you an advantage, or did you not really know what to expect, or what were you thinking on the lead up to that Evo win?
Well, to begin with, I was already starting going. Like I had been already going to the States for a few years before the year one, right? So what happened is that at that point I had already been playing fighting games for some time, and I always wanted the opportunity to take it to a higher level, like go overseas, try to test myself, see where I stood, how could I do against. Initially, it was more of a just kind of like a dream. Like for me, just being at Evo, not even playing, just being able to watch those super skilled players in multiple games, see the stuff they did live. That was the goal in itself for me, because I didn't feel myself at that time like of someone at their caliber or anywhere close. It was just some guy that liked fighting games and tried to get better, but I was stuck in a country in the middle of literally at the end of the world. So it was definitely a different perspective. And then what happened is that I started playing fighting games in 2004 competitively because I had a friend that was already big into them. That we used to hang out a lot on local tech forum, like overclocking and games and that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
And he saw I had kind of a interest in fighting games, but in general, because again the general look interesting to me, but I didn't know anyone, and he's the one that offered to teach me some of the basic fighting game stuff. And shortly after I started that, I started realizing there was not just a local scene for it, but a global thing for it. That's how I learned about SRK and and all Tekken Zaibatsu and all the forums around about Evo and SVO and all this stuff. I started like for like many years it was like trying to be on top of the technology just to be able to have a chance against the super talented players that I would play in CVS2, in 3S, and local tournaments. Like trying to get Evo, like the Evo DVDs when they came out. Like try to
Wow.
because I used to participate a lot on SRK actually. So there was one point where I got gifted like premium time for the forums, and premium time
Nice.
gave you some perks, and one of those perks was being able to download the Evo DVDs.
Oh, wow.
So
I did not know about this.
Yeah, that is
Okay.
awesome.
There was like a premium, like this is before like
Yeah.
Patreon and
See,
stuff like that.
already like having
Okay.
it in DVD is one thing, but being able to download in the internet days back in the day was also a big prestige.
Yeah, well, no, that's a
Yeah.
big deal because that's like that was when the internet was like, I mean, it was already well underway
Yeah.
of giving good
It was building
resources,
up.
but this is such an interesting story because this made it accessible. This knowledge was accessible to somebody all the way in Chile,
Yeah.
right? That would come to Evo and prove himself, right? So, sorry, just continue the story. Yeah.
So it was like for all this, like for about 8 years of just watching these people, watch the video, watching any footage I could, playing locally. I also happened to qualify for the Magic Pro Tour in 2010. So
Oh,
I was
wow.
I won a trip to Europe. I went to tournaments in Sweden and the Netherlands.
Wow.
That was very good.
Okay,
And that was very cool. And
that's
OG
amazing.
World Warrior.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Just yeah.
of course, that gave me like more of a desire to be able to do more in fighting games as well. But I had to win this tournament because I didn't have the resources to travel at all. It's
Yeah.
super expensive from here. So what happens is that there was a group of people from a city in the north of Chile, and this city is mostly known as a mining town, right?
Okay.
So people that work at mines actually make really good money.
Yeah.
So many of them are like retro, like old school arcade retro enthusiasts, and they enjoy fighting games, but they cannot they commit themselves to fighting games the way you have to if you want to be good, because
Sure,
they have like tough work skills. Like if you work at mines, you usually have to spend like 7 days in the mountains, and then you have like 7 free days, or 7 by 5, or that kind of like work regimens, right? Or 2 weeks in the mountains, 1 week back home. So, and they have families, they have kids, so they couldn't like get like into fighting games to take it to a higher level. Plus, there's also the thing here is like it doesn't really lead you to anything, sadly. So we're gonna go longer on that later, but
That's
Yeah.
basically the only way to make it out there is if you probably win something. So these people actually went to Evo in 2011 and they loved the experience,
Oh.
but they decided to put up a tournament to send players that had the drive, the skills, but didn't have the resources to be able to get to Evo.
Right.
And the first year was 2012, like January or February 2012, and they had Street Fighter 4, Marvel 3, and MK9
Right.
at the time.
The big three at
right?
the time, yes.
Yeah, and they will send the winner of each game to Evo, and that's when I say, okay, this is where I have to go all out. This is the chance of a lifetime. And at the time, like I had got into Marvel 3. I was starting to do decently. It was actually like this was early Ultimate, like the first 2-3 months of Ultimate. But I did terrible during Vanilla. Like there's footage of me playing on Vanilla. I was getting destroyed, smacked, like tossed all around. But I really like the game. I always like watching Marvel 2 back in the day. but there was no community for it. Like there were like very few players, like 5-6 dedicated players that played in one particular arcade, and that was it. So
Okay.
for me, it was no. Even though the game was enjoyable, was interesting to me. It was, if there's no competition, there's no drive for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Right,
so there was a
so-
competition in the 2011. You said these the group of miners in the northern part of Chile hosted this tournament, and you realized like, okay,
2012. So
Or 2012,
They,
okay.
They went to they went to Evo in 2011, and since
Okay.
they love the experience,
Ah,
they put
the
the
next
tournament
year
for 2012.
they put
okay,
up the
so
event.
that's when you started grinding. So I guess were you able to get a trip from winning that tournament? Or
Yes.
is that the first time that you were able to go to the US and
Yes.
compete? Okay.
Yes, and the ticket was only for Evo, but since I already I already had contacts in the States, for example. Like there were even people like from SRK watching me on the stream for the tournament for the ticket,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
right?
Wow.
So,
Do you know if that stream archive is still alive somewhere in the internet? Your qualifier
Uh,
tournament?
it's on YouTube, if
Oh,
I
it
remember
is.
correctly.
I'll try to find
Okay.
Yeah, it
it.
should be on
Unless if
YouTube.
you could find it also, you can just pass it to me. I'd
Yeah,
love to
just,
see.
yeah, just give me a reminder after we're done, and
Sure,
I'll
sure,
look it
sure.
for you.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But yeah,
So how did that
So
Evo
was
go
able-
for you when the first time that you went?
Yeah.
Was it
So-
yeah.
I actually told the organizers to send me 1 month earlier.
Oh, okay.
Ah.
And so I stayed in LA, in the LA area
Mhm.
during that month. Started going to Super Arcade for Wednesday Night Fight / Runback at
Yeah.
the time, which was like the biggest thing, along with New York City's Weekly was like the big Wednesday night
Wednesday
wars
Night
at the
Fight
time.
then?
Famous Wednesday night fights. Yeah.
All the killers were there.
Oh, yeah,
For
yeah.
every game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I remember.
Yeah,
That was
that's
crazy.
there's some legendary moments that were made there
Wednesday-
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wednesday Night Fights back then,
Wednesday
yes.
Fights in Super, and then Big Two in Next
in the
Level.
East Coast, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it was crazy. Like we will stay with friends, just hanging out, watching until like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Oh man.
for those, and started going to Wednesday Night Fights, playing against all these names that I had watched on stream for a long time, getting to meet people like legendary names like Watson Valle, Vizcayan Clockwork, all the big names that were doing really well in Street Fighter 4 at the time as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to Evo and did fairly decently for my first Evo. I didn't have any high expectations, but I definitely did better than expected. I even had a pretty good highlight against Fnatic on that first year.
I think I remember this.
On Wednesday Night Fights, and I got out at tied for top 48 at Evo for Marvel, which was very, very decent considering it was like around 900 players for the year.
For your first attempt, that's pretty decent.
Yeah,
run,
yeah,
I think.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm sure the format also must have been kind of. I mean, if it was your first Evo, so you're probably unfamiliar with like the protocol, like how things work, and you're probably kind of soaking all that in, being your first experience.
Yeah.
And so I guess how much of that first experience do you think helped you later on?
I mean, I think it all added up because honestly, for what I wanted to do, I didn't have a way to take it to a higher level here. So all of the high level experience I got grinding and all that was all that it was all the stuff I got on my travels, not here.
Okay.
Because at a point here, like no long after I got to a point here where it's like no one could beat me. There was there were one or two guys that were like way better than the rest, but I could still beat them. Like they were the two ones that I actually had to.
You had to use your brain power.
Focus to play. Yeah. But everyone else, I would just be on autopilot. So
okay.
For me, I like all the experience I got to be good at Marvel 3. I got it outside. Like Although I had some friends that play locally and they didn't even care too much about competing, but they would still come to my place to play long sessions just to keep me like somewhat fresh, even though it's
Keep you
difficult
warm.
because
Yeah.
it's like a knife. If you don't use it, it doesn't stay the same. It becomes dull.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You need
Gotta
to
keep it
use
sharpening it.
You
and,
actually need to use it so it stays sharp.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So I guess in a
So-
certain sense, even though you're a player from Chile, a lot of the technology you got was from the States, because you were watching DVDs on the Evo DVDs. You were looking at SRK. You went to WNF. You went to the US like a month early to just grind with American players. So I guess in a big way, you've kind of also like stolen. You studied that playstyle directly and was able to learn from it as well.
I mean, more than study the playstyle is just like understand how the people think. In general, like actual game tech, particularly for my team, there was no one doing stuff like the team I played was considered the online kids team.
Oh, yeah.
Like no one was trying to play the team in a serious way. So I actually had to come out with around 95% of the stuff that I'm able to do with the team.
Do you think that being from Chile, where you don't have perhaps if you were like an American player, you lived in the U.S. and you were training with the scene from the beginning, do you think that you might have had a different team if you were like if KBR was an American player that was part of that scene? Or do you think part of being, I guess, I don't want to say isolated, but kind of being so far away in Chile, do you think that contributed to you having to pioneer a new a team and prove that this team works? Because this is one of the topics that I have, which is kind of interesting to me, because it's kind of a lot of champions you see at Evo. It's not always like the top tier characters that everyone's talking about that win. Sometimes you'll get like a win from like a very unexpected a team or a character, and you're kind of one of the prime examples of that, I think, in Marvel. So what do you think contributed to your, or did you just like that team? Is that, do you like the play style, or do you think it contributed to your the way that you like to grind and get good rather than using natural skill? Can you talk a little bit about that team selection?
Okay, so here's the thing. First of all, I feel that with my resources and my skill set, sadly for me, I'm forced to if I want to be successful in the game, I'm forced to take the untreaded path, and it has to be a game that allows me to be successful taking that route, because not all games will allow you to do that. Some games will let you do that at any time. Some games will let you do that as long as the opposition is unprepared. Some games will just not let you do that, right? So I feel there's multiple reasons of why I pick my team. One of them, it's easy on execution. The difficult parts of in terms of like the combos on the team are more about timing, spacing, character size. It's more about knowledge than about being able to do things quickly with your hands. It's things that I can do. So that works for me. Then in Marvel, especially like the American mindset for Marvel is that you need to go faster. So you need to be flying all around the screen, otherwise you're not even a good player.
Execution is very heavy in that game. So
And then the thing is that that team and the way it played, they work in a way that they force my opponents to have second guesses about their offensive.
Yeah.
And that plays exactly to where I want them to be. Because
I remember Hagar assist is what forces them to think again. That's usually the mechanic in the team. Just the existence of Hagar is like my usual offense doesn't work for some reason. And I think whenever the American players face that for the first time, that's when the literal thought, the train of thought like ends.
Yeah.
And then they get confused. And that's when Nico goes like, oh, okay, I got him.
So the it's already at the character select screen. You're
Pretty
already
much.
playing a mental game. That's super interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
Like there's a bunch of like that's just one of the layers.
That's
There's also
one of
like
them.
the armor. There's the armor layer, and then everyone's like, oh, Hulk H, blah blah blah, and then people still don't realize what I use mostly is actually Hulk standing M.
Standing M is good.
Because I actually like did the lab work, read the guide, and standing M has actually way faster startup on the armor than standing H.
Yeah. And as well as it's confirmable into the second M, which advances him forward even more. And then the combo just continues. Yeah. So it's actually the one button that people sleep on.
Yeah.
And then there's if armor doesn't work, there's Larry. If the Larry doesn't work, there's Invincible Super. If Invincible Super doesn't work, there's DHC into another Invincible Super. If DHC doesn't work, there's X Factor. So people are like, should go, no, maybe. So there's that's why gives me the small like fraction of a second to be able to make better decisions.
Like
because if
layers.
I had to if I had to play at the speed that my opponent wants, like my opponent is trying to play and wants to force me to play, I won't be able to. Like I will never be able to play Marvel 2, for example.
Right.
Okay.
Because there's no way to there's nothing on that game that forces that the opponent to slow down in that regard. There are characters with armor and stuff, but they're not good. They don't have tools to be able to be
effective.
intimidating like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you won Evo 2015, it was kind of, I guess it was kind of a shock for the American scene. A Chilean player comes and wins Evo, and you've kind of gotten a target on your back. I remember seeing online like how you've kind of become like a villain. Like, we gotta like take this guy out. This guy just came and humiliated us, made us the land of the free, and just it was, and like knowing you as a person and seeing you on streams, and it's just like, okay, it's KBR the villain, right? It's like, but then there actually was a real villain who was mouthing off at the time, and I remember was it Winter Brawl X, Winter Brawl 10, I think it was that tournament. There was an exhibition, I think it was 1st to 15, with FChamp, and I know this is kind of this was kind of a crazy story.
Was it 1st to 10 or 15?
I think it was first to first to 15. I want to say.
I think it was 15.
Yeah. And this was kind of a moment where it was. I think FChamp wanted to show during the match he was like trash talking shit.
Yep.
It was leading up to the match he was talking a lot of shit. And when it came to the exhibition, which was before the actual tournament at Winter Brawl, during the tournament, I remember he was FChamp was like he was trash talking during the game. He was saying, "This is my game."
Oh yes.
He was basically like almost yelling at you during the tournament. And this was an exhibition tournament as well. Like, this was just the appetizer, right? Yeah. And so, I remember he even paused the game, gave you a free win during that exhibition.
I remember that too. Yeah.
And of course, I guess I'll let you kind of talk about that experience, and instead of just spoiling and everything for people who might not be familiar. So, what was that experience like? And I guess you've probably been asked this a lot, so forgive me if I'm, bringing this up for the millionth time for you again. But I guess just from your perspective, how did that play out? How did you feel? Did it put a sour taste to your mouth of the American FGC, or do you feel like this is something that didn't bother you at all? What
Shout
is?
outs to Ryan, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah. So what?
Yeah. What was your thoughts at the time?
Well, if you ask me, that wasn't a good experience at all.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Um,
On the
so-
receiving end, I would say.
Of course.
Mhm.
So that leads from what you were saying, like what people were saying about me after Evo.
Yeah.
So actually, what after Evo, I went to Japan.
Yes.
And then on the way back, it just happened that the weekend I was coming back back home. I hadn't been back. I hadn't like at those point, on those years, I was spending somewhere between 6 to 9 months per year abroad, like just going from place to place.
Yeah, I remember that.
Just
yeah.
trying to get better, right? So for me, it was like at that point I had been already out of home from 9 months. I just wanted to get back home. But what happened is that I also know that every opportunity for me to be out there is a blessing because, of course, of how difficult it is to make it over there from here. And what happened is that the weekend I was going back home from Japan, it was the weekend for SoCal Regionals.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I was able to do some small changes to the ticket to be able to stop by the event, have like a kind of like a 48 hourly over.
Okay.
Just to stop by the event and chill with people, say bye to friends, and like hang out for one last time in who knows how long, because I never know if I'm gonna be able to make it to be around the year after to keep competing. Even that year in 2015. So in 2012 I won the ticket from the tournament here.
Yeah.
In 2013 I won the ticket again. In 2014, I didn't need to win the ticket because I got invited to the by Capcom to the first Capcom Cup
Yeah.
because they had Marvel 3 that
Marvel
year, and
at
they
the
made
time.
they did an online voting, and because I had been like putting my name out there for like everywhere.
Yes.
I got a lot of support, not just from like the people that have watched me in A, but also from Japan, because I had already been there like one time there, had been able to share with the community and stuff. And also, of course, the Latin American support. So that was able to get me into a Capcom Cup. So I didn't need to get the ticket here. And then in 2015, the year I won Evo, I actually lost in the tournament for the ticket.
Oh, that I
Because-
did not know. That's interesting. Okay, yeah.
Because at the point I was like, before I had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So it's like it's like I'm not like, for me it's like it's not a hard choice to just take the dive and see where this takes me, because I have nothing to lose, because it's like nothing. But now I have something going on. I have developed something. I have a name out there.
Yeah.
So I need to keep doing this. I need this to keep keep the momentum going.
Yeah.
And that play against me, that made me choke terribly, and I got like 4th place at the tournament.
Oh, I see.
Wow.
At the qualifier event.
Yeah, so that's actually something that's an interesting phenomenon where I remember when NuckleDu, the Street Fighter player, when he won Capcom Cup. I think that was the first Capcom Cup where they had like a major prize.
Yeah.
I think it was like $250,000 or something, where it was like, oh, okay, now FGC, like Street Fighter players can now buy houses and stuff if they win, right? And so NuckleDu had just won, and this is a funny story. He came to visit Korea. I don't know if it was for an event or just leisure, but he I let him crash at my place, right? So this guy wins like,
Yeah.
you know, the biggest prize in Street Fighter history, and then he
And
crashes,
he's still couch surfing
crashes
at
at
friends'
FGC
places.
places, right?
Which is,
And,
I mean, I've been doing that for a long
which is cool.
time. Yeah.
He's welcome.
Yeah.
I mean, if he came
That's the
again,
FGC in a
if he
nutshell.
came again and wants to, you know, chill at our place, I'm fine with that. But I guess one thing that was interesting was I got to talk to him a bit.
Yeah.
And he mentioned that, I just after having won such a major event, he just felt like there's a target on your back, and that he just felt like everyone's just constantly like, if you don't practice or don't do something, everyone's just getting ahead.
Right.
And
right.
it's kind of I felt like it was like a mentality thing where now there's this pressure and being a target. And of course, I think that goes with any champion. They're like, well, if you're a champion, you need to like play, right? You need to play everybody and anyone, anytime. And
Similar to celebrities, how they always get pressured, like your next work has to be better than before.
Well,
and things
yeah,
like that.
it's this big pressure. But I guess like you know, after having won, you know, I mean, you're still, you know, placed well in fighting game tournaments. I think the next year after, I think you had made a runner-up, second place, and but then I guess the experience of having that target on your back. Do you have any ways that you kind of stay strong in those moments? Because this is where no one can imagine that kind of pressure.
I mean, the thing is that this was what happened in this case was more than like just a figurative target on my back. So so in 2015, I was actually able to go to thanks to a few individuals from here and overseas that actually chipped in to help me get the ticket to be able to have my competitive season and eventually win Evo that year. So if in that regard, if it hadn't been for them, I wouldn't even have been able to be at Evo in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. So what happened after is that so I'm coming back to the tournament. I didn't register because it was a last minute decision.
Yeah.
So and I didn't want to play. I just wanted to hang out with friends.
Sure.
At SCR, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
And then FChamp starts being like, oh, well, you like a lot of people are like, oh, but you need to like, you need as a champion, you need to like represent, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You need to like defend your. And it's like, I don't know anything. I don't know anything to you or anyone.
You don't have to do anything if you don't want to. You know, you could just quit forever if you wanted to. If you like Tomohiro did that, right?
Like Tomo, like ever since the beginning of time with Tomo, and even in the present time, like Uma, and no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
But it's like this is probably like I'm pretty sure it's like just to like generate stuff. But the thing is that like
Uma,
because they didn't participate, they didn't want to get into a play that he started like rallying people. There were a lot of people that had had like something against me for a while in the particularly in the American FGC. So a lot of people like got in the bandwagon and started like trolling me, there's even like I would say racist remarks towards me from FChamp, and that video is still up on YouTube. And they didn't ban it at the point. I mean, I feel there's kind of like inherent racism in the like factor in the American FGC, but that we can go over that later. But the fact is that he started doing like talking a lot of that kind of stuff. For me, I didn't reply to any of that because like the only thing I actually did, is that I actually sent a message to the I think he was in Panda at the time. And I remember I sent a message to like, I don't know, the owner or like the director of the team or whatever, saying, hey, your player is behaving like that. Are you gonna do like, can you do something about that? It's like, oh well, we cannot like control how our players behave. I'll try having a chat with him about that. They probably, from what I know, they probably told you as like, look at this guy, he's trying to tell on you.
But
that I'm assuming that's what probably happened because that's the vibe I got from what I heard after.
Yeah.
Okay.
So eventually, but for me, it's like whatever. It's like if they want to be like that, that's on them.
Yeah.
Like I'm too busy. Like they understand what it is. Like all of them, like even like no matter if they go 0-2 or they win the tournament, no matter what happens, they can just go after Sunday Sodom. They go back home. They can lay the event sink down, whatever, and then do like whatever on Monday. It's like okay, prep up for the next tournament. But me, like I don't have any of the resources, any of the support. And like these guys have like sponsorship, team, team wages, like player salaries, sponsorship deals, stream revenue. They have all their high level players to practice with constantly. I have none of that,
Yeah.
and I won't even see my own bed for months at a time just to be able to get better at this.
Yeah.
So
Big
they will never understand what I had to go through to be able to get to a level I got.
Yeah.
So it's like they
You
want
had
to
a
be
purpose.
if they want to be trash people, that's on them, really. I have more important things to focus on than yeah. So
Yeah.
So what happened is that this was making a lot of noise. Like a lot of people were talking shit on me on Twitter directly.
Yeah.
Like a lot of his friends and stuff. This happened like for a lot of people. It wasn't like the first one. Like when I won Evo, I actually some of the people that were even like in EG at the time were talking shit about me because of what was, and it was actually PRO the one that told them, hey guys, you need to chill, that's uncalled for.
Yeah.
And
I know like Eduardo usually does want to like settle things in a gentlemanly way, right? So he's the kind of personality to call the shots whenever, because I know even now, and especially back in the day, the North American FGC was kind of in the bubble, I think, where they are the best. I mean, sure they were skill wise and results wise.
Yeah, well, I mean,
they were the majority, right?
Yeah, the thing about the U.S. FGC is, I'm American, so I can say this, but I do feel that there's. I mean, if you look at the American FGC. Even in games where they're not good at, they'll like do USA chants once like somebody gets one round on like a Japanese player or something, and I'm guilty. I've participated in chants like that too. But it's definitely there's something about the I don't know. You can call it passion if you're looking at it in a positive way.
The culture,
but there's definitely but for a game like Marvel, I feel like something as passionate as Marvel players in the American community could just seem like a very it'll go into the levels of toxicity, right?
Yeah. So it could people can make excuses, right? It's either passion, it's ego driven, sure, but I guess there's something within the Marvel that resonates with the North American scene.
Yeah, because I remember like during that time, people the stuff that people were saying about KBR was like it was like outside the game. It was like personal stuff, right?
Which was a bit uncalled for.
Which is, for me, I personally think like you keep the stuff about the game, right? You can say like, oh, your team is trash, or like,
if it's about
Akuma
the game,
is free, or whatever you want to say about the game. But it definitely got like overboard during that time, but I guess during the Winter Brawl thing, even though Nico lost the exhibition, he won the tournament the next
Eventually,
day. I remember it was kind of like it was like the last round or last game, I think. So when you won Winter Brawl, I remember you had a very you were very composed. You did a little handshake, and that was it. There was you didn't do like a huge pop off to be like, oh yeah, I got you back or anything. You just had a handshake, and I think there was a lot of respect that you had gained from that. And I remember FChamp's reaction was like in shock, like how could I lose, and how could I lose in this situation? And that was kind of I don't know. Did that kind of change perception in the FGC about you, or was it like the same even after you won Winter Brawl in that tournament?
I mean, I don't think anyone really changed the perception that they had from beforehand about me. Like it was like people I got along with from before. This it was the same. People that didn't like me from before, it was the
Mm-mm-mm.
same. So on that regard, it's like no, I don't think it's really changed anything. Uh,
Nothing
Okay.
drastic, right?
no,
Yeah.
the thing is that for me, one of my goals with all of these is always to try to become a professional player. Of course,
Yeah.
the main
Yeah.
thing about being a professional, I feel, is being able to live through what you do, right?
Sure.
Which is never really been my situation. But I
Mm.
I do always strive for that, and I also believe that being a professional also means you need to have a professional attitude towards what you do.